the controversial release and how Onward had to kind of jump on the bandwagon really quickly because they didn't have a choice. Mm-hmm. And please watch the episode, I'll link it up here, that we did on that. And also, prior to COVID, so did The Irishman. They did both. So this wasn't technically unprecedented, but it is in the sense that we had to pay for it. And Disney added an entire new line to their membership called Premier Access. So this, you'll pay $30. You have it forever. It's just like buying a really expensive DVD.
Can you ask me about my initial reaction to that?
Yes. John has a very opinionated.
My initial reaction to that was $30.
You out your mind.
What are you talking about? $30 to watch it at home. For how long? What do you get for $30? Do you keep it forever?
You keep it forever. So you know how Disney likes to like put stuff in the vault?
Yeah.
And then obviously it's a streaming service, so they're gonna not have everything on at once. So once they take it down, people who purchase the Premier Access will still have it.
So they're still doing the vault thing over on
Disney?
Disney?
That's the thing. There's not everything is on Disney Plus.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it. But the promise of Disney Plus was like you get kind of everything, right? And I feel like they've sort of failed on that promise.
Ish.
Yeah. I mean, they Disney does their exclusivity thing, so I think that's something we're always going to have to accept. Yeah.
I mean, not everything's out there, and they figure out. I mean, like I was quite impressive what they did have, what they did release when Disney Plus premiered. I mean, there was a lot on there, and I mean, I was surprised to see. You know, they got even like. If you go into the Wayback Machine, they have the first season of the Mickey Mouse Club from the 50s. They've got Spin and Marty. You know, they have all the cool classic stuff that I was waiting for. But people are like, well, where's the Proud Family?
They have some conspicuous absences, right, though? Like, they own the Muppets, for example, and they don't post them.
Where is the Proud Family?
Proud Family's on there.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah, okay. It's on. It came in the February release. But
so they're slowly getting to them. Yeah.
Exactly, and I think it would be fun to see the Muppet Show, to see the reruns of the Muppet Show. I mean, I think that's great.
Bring that one back.
But I know with like Muppets Take Manhattan and a couple other ones, I think that's on a different. Somebody else has that. I think it's through HBO or maybe Showtime or something like that. I noticed some.
I thought those were like Touchstone Pictures, which is all Disney umbrella.
Yeah, that's true. Right. Well, who knows? Disney owns everything.
Yeah. So. Only 3 circles, they dominate the planet. Carlos, what did you think of the cost? What was your initial reaction?
It was great because I didn't have to pay for it. So
I don't know if John, you used my membership, but that was part of the deal. As I bought the movie and I shared it with you.
Right? Yeah.
It was really nice. And I did notice, like right before the release, that Disney announced that it will be free for everyone in December, which you posted. I saw that because you posted it, obviously.
Yeah.
And that was like right a day or two before it was gonna drop. They just kind of like slunk that in. They're like, in a few months you'll all get it.
Right.
Like,
Just for the diehard people who ran out of things to watch. So.
Yeah.
Or for the podcast who want to get the episode up as soon as possible. Sure. I was not mad. Like honestly, that's cheaper than a date straight up. Like if you go and get, especially my neighborhood, if you go to the theater in my neighborhood, it's like $19 a ticket, and that's not even like the VIP. So like, I live in a really bougie neighborhood, guys. So with snacks and, you know, you're saving money technically. And then I have a friend who has lots of children and they are saving a lot of money because of it. And they have the option of being able to watch it in the comfort of their own home with their little toddlers who would probably ruin it for the theater, right? So I think it's a cool option. I'm not mad at it, but I do understand the initial reaction. It's a bit jarring when like we've never had to do this before.
And if you have like kids, then, you know, it's like I can buy the one ticket for the whole family.
Right.
You know, so there's that. I get that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the accusations of whitewashing behind the camera. We are very thrilled that the Chinese community has representation on screen, but that is not the case behind the camera.
Yeah.
John, I want you to lead this.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. I first saw it on TikTok of all places. My
TikTok's
brother.
woke.
Yeah, my brother-in-law is like, in college and stuff, and he was like, you guys have to get on TikTok. So me and my wife got on TikTok. And there's a number of, Asian, I don't know what they call them on TikTok, broadcasters, who have complained about this very thing. That, like, it's written, directed, produced, like, all of the big sort of, I don't know if they're above the line roles, but, like, all of the major behind-the-scenes camera, or, like, behind-the-camera operators are white. So you have this, like, big representation in front of the camera and, like, this big absence of it kind of behind, including in, like, the writing and stuff that might be.
Yeah, there's not one Asian writer in the writing credits. I mean, honestly, for either the animated or the live action, yeah. But I think we expected that in the 1998 release of it. No.
Do you think that's more systemic of just Disney and its practices in general?
Yeah, and I think who's on staff at Disney, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like they're.
This was going back. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but going back to that, I was telling you about Into the Unknown, the making of Frozen 2. Mm-hmm. You get to see exactly who's in the creative team for that specific. Now, granted, this was animated, and it was interesting to see who's working on what. And I did see a lot of Glendale.
So the Armenians.
No, a lot of Burbank. So it I guess maybe it's Disney. I mean, Disney always been white.
It's Disney. Yeah. My thing was kind of in regards to that. I do wish it was in Mandarin or whatever.
I was looking to see if there was an audio to play it because I was like, oh, this would be kind of fun to listen to in Mandarin, but I was like, oh no, it's English.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
It reminds me of the Matt Damon, like, I don't know if it's a scandal, but like when he said that, like, representation matters in front of the camera, but behind the camera it doesn't matter so much. Like, saying that, like, anyone can kind of be behind the camera, but he really kind of, like, put his foot in his mouth it was like on his show, right? The green screen show. And then he very shortly after that did The Great Wall of China. So it reminds me of that problem where there's this kind of like, well, these are the people who have worked at Disney for 30 years. And of course we're going to give them the job because that's our writing staff and they know Disney. But, when it comes to a project like this, it might have been good for them to say, hire on someone extra and someone new who can, like, learn to be Disney, but also bring some authenticity from, like, a Chinese mindset. Like, get an Asian filmmaker on board, either, in one of the positions, like as a co-writer, as, like director, maybe. But
then aren't you just pandering?
I mean, it's already pandering, right?
That's true, I guess. Yeah. But I mean, it would be interesting to see.
If you're gonna do it, why not just do it with a little bit more? I would say responsibility.
Gravitas.
Yeah.
A little bit. I mean, it's funny that you mentioned the Matt Damon thing because it's like, well, yeah, anybody can do it. Look at that, those two chuckleheads. They kind of just lucked out with, Good Will Hunting. But I mean, yeah. As far as I honestly, I had never heard of the director. I don't even know who she is. I had to look her up to see what. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, cool.
I do love that it's a female director. And fun little fact: the production budget of this film was $290 million. Thanks, Disney. And it is the most expensive film ever made by a female director.
I can see that. It's up there with most expensive films. That's like tier 1 category. Like, the most expensive movies on the planet are like between 300 and 400 million, right?
Were they behind schedule? Were they on schedule? Were they on budget and everything? Was it?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. They never went over, like, Disney. I mean, it's Disney. They have all the money in the world. So they were just like, here you go.
And that never includes the advertising budget, which they always say is about an additional third of that budget or somewhere along those lines. So, because they're going to spend 400 million on this movie before it's like we get to see it. Before it's done.
Before we jump into the production, Disney, Carlos and I are big Disney park aficionados. We're both citizens of Disney, if you will. And I'm a bit sad we didn't get to see how the parks handled the release because of everything. That was Yeah.
I have a feeling that the parks will be dealing with Mulan in the future.
Oh yeah.
As we get to production, I'll bring it up.
I'm sure. Well, let's get in then.
Yeah.
All right. So, first things first. Let's talk about the production design. John.
Yeah, the set. I wanna start with the set. The village. My immediate reaction was, well, this looks like it belongs at Disneyland.
Yes.
Like that circular town is something
that was actually pretty cool. I was like, this is neat.
It was something they could absolutely build, and then you could do like a little offshoot down the alley could lead to like your Imperial section or whatever. But yeah, immediately I was just like, oh, I feel like I'm at Disneyland. Like I feel like I'm on something built for, tourists and whatnot.
Real quick, did you notice that when they did the, Disney, did you realize which castle they were using? That was the Shanghai Disneyland castle.
Oh, no. I did notice the backdrop was China, but I didn't notice.
Yeah, but you look at the castle itself. I noticed that when they were doing the logo, and I was like, hey, that's Shanghai's castle, which is like one of the largest ones. So anyway,
yes,
kind of cool.
Thanks. I didn't even notice that. Okay, so with you just saying that, John, what did you guys think about how they brought us into the Disney universe with this? They set the tone so fast with the village, with the set design, and with Mulan's ability to just like be strong in her chi and like chase chickens and jump on rooftops and not die when she fell off the rooftop.
Yeah. That was a little, when that moment happened, that's very early in the film. Yeah. I was immediately like, oh, we're going kind of
Crouching Tiger here.
Yeah, kind of over the top. Like she immediately is using like, wire work, acrobatic kind of shenanigans.
Yeah. Fun fact, she did 90% of her stunts. I knew that going into the film, so I expected more. I don't know. There's a lot of like CGI and acrobatic like wire work going on here. Yeah. But I should have known it's Disney. They're kind of corny in the way that they do these things. And I think they use this tool appropriately to set the tone to go, hey, you're in the Disney universe. Mm-hmm. You're in Disney's China. So I wasn't mad, but I do know that kind of set people off.
A lot of like the rabbits that we initially see that she's chasing, that she gets all excited about, like they look really fake to me.
Yeah.
I was really shocked coming off of like the Jungle Book and Lion King that like the animals in this movie didn't look better. I didn't see Lion King, but in Jungle Book everything looked perfect. Like it was photoreal.
Yeah, I thought Jungle Book was really interesting. I didn't care for Lion King, but anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole other episode.
Yeah, I skipped it altogether. But I felt like the birds and like the rabbits and some of the animals that we get, like the CG doesn't look very good. Like it really stands out. I felt like
they didn't put the budget there for sure.
Yeah, they didn't like polish it off or something. Yeah. Maybe it holds up a little better on a big screen. You never know, really.
Yeah, that's true. See, we won't know that at least maybe ever, right? Ever. Yeah, maybe ever. Okay, costumes. What did you guys think of the costumes? Carlos, will you start with this one, please?
Pretty spot on. I mean, I had to do some research to see what period that they were picking this up at, and it looks like it was around the Qing Dynasty, and so they were pretty spot on with. I think the vibrancy of it, I think the attention to detail, I think that's the one thing that they're going to have to get right and try to be authentic as possible without people starting to call them out and going, I don't know about that. It was pretty cool. I really enjoyed what I saw. I love the hair, the makeup, the costumes were great.
Me too. I loved the overall look. Like the set design and the costumes were really beautiful. One thing I loved about the costume was that when Mulan came out as Mulan in the middle of the battle, that her armor fell off, but she maintained like the bottom portion of her armor to kind of add like volume to her skirt. I was like, yes, I want to wear that. So I thought that was cute.
Yeah, the armored leggings was a good call.
Yeah.
The one thing too, when they were in the training sessions and whatnot, everybody looked dirty. I felt like you could smell them. Oh,
we could smell Mulan.
Right. It just, in the sense, because sometimes it's like sometimes some Disney movies are just, everything is just too clean. It's like you need to do, actually make it look like you're dirty.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That was
What
pretty cool.
you know, now that you say that, one thing that I found that I liked about this more was that in the animated version, I felt like they were just like brown people, you know, whereas this they were like dirty people. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
They were
Yeah.
dirty. Yeah, they were.
They
Yeah.
were dirty. So that I appreciated that difference,
Yeah.
which of course is like a lot easier to portray when it's live action, right?
For sure.
Right.
But
okay.
it is a good point to bring up because sometimes Disney can be a little high gloss.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a good job on the production standpoint of like weathering things properly. Like a lot of times on movies, like the clothes just look too new, or they look too like right out of the dye machine. And like these were vibrant and bright, but they looked appropriately
Warm.
lived in, right?
Yeah, exactly. Lived in. Exactly.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job on that, and I liked the design. The soldier helmets and whatnot are pretty cool. So
I thought everything was really beautiful. Really.
yeah, I feel like this is where the movie really shines, is in like costume and set. Are like two of its big, like, you know, stars on its cap kind of a thing.
Totally. Cool. Okay.
The lighting.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say the lighting of it and the cinematography, just on point.
Took the words out of my mouth, Carla.
Yeah, it was. I was there for all of it. I mean, and then the location too. I thought the choice of location was great. You know,
Filmed in New Zealand, by the way.
really.
They can be anywhere. That's why they film it.
Basically, New Zealand's everywhere.
It's New Zealand, Middle Earth, China.
Yeah, it has the most diverse geography of any like place on the planet. So that's why companies love to film there, and they've done a really good job of like not letting the landscape get destroyed because they know it's profitable as something pretty. Which is smart.
I'm a fan of New Zealand, just gotta say, for a myriad of reasons.
Hopefully
John,
people are getting... What's that?
What were you gonna say?
I was just saying hopefully the people in New Zealand are getting compensated properly. They've had some issues with the film industry in the past. Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Unfortunate.
Yeah, not necessarily with Disney though. So hopefully Disney's done it right. I really like cinematography. Really nice landscape photography. Like I said, the lighting is very nice, very smooth. Like you get this like really cool candle, like buttery light in a lot of the interior scenes. So I think overall, a lot of good to be said about that. The mist that they use, the like steam vats or whatever that they have the battle at, I thought that was clever use of like, because you know any DP worth anything loves a good fog machine, and this is like a really nice way to do that practically. I think.
Well, and then also that right after the big avalanche scene, you know,
just the air.
I was curious to see how that was going to play out, if they were even going to leave it in. I'm going, oh, where's the avalanche scene? Where's she going to, you know, do the thing? I'm like, oh, that's fun.
Yeah,
you know.
I liked, real quick, I liked that they changed it a bit, whereas in the animated film, it was her idea to cause the avalanche, whereas in this film, it was kind of like luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She does like put it together though, and like comes up with a plan herself. Like, I do think that kind of brings up something plot-based that I had an issue with throughout this movie, which is that it's like a setup with no payoff, or it's a payoff with no setup. Like, we don't really introduce anything that makes that moment, I feel like, click. Where, like, you're like, oh, of course that's what she would do given what we know about her. Like, so there were certain things that I felt like could have been set up better that, like, in the original film, were kind of set up better. Like, we know about the rockets and that we've been training with and whatnot in the original, so it kind of makes sense.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Also, like, when she was going up the mountain with the buckets, with the water and whatnot, it's like, okay, I kind of see her, she's tapping into her chi, but... You know, I guess that this is the same way. It would have made more sense, like when in the animated, when she's using those the big metal discs to climb to the top of the pole and you know get the arrow down. I mean, yes, that set it up because she'd been beat down the entire.
Yeah, the first one does a lot better with those kinds of setups, payoffs than this one does. I feel like that's kind of where I was like starting to kind of go sideways with this movie. Is just that like there's a lot of things like that. Like you said, in the original. You know, she does the climb thing, and then later that payoff comes back even not like it comes back again when her teammates have to do that to like break into the palace, right? They use the and that was something missing from this film was like the sorry to kind of go off on the plot tangent, but just that idea of her comrades embracing femininity to win was something that was like amazing in the original one, where they all dress up in drag to break into the palace.
Right, and I'm sure that was done as a sight gag, but I think it also played to, you're right, embracing the femininity of who Mulan was and that they stand behind her.
Yeah, and it was just a little bit more equalizing with the genders that like, oh, both have value and we can use, these supposedly feminine qualities against the Huns in the original. It was the Huns.
Right.
Yeah.
To be fair, we should probably save this for the differences, but I have to say this since we're talking about it now. I
got into it. I'm sorry.
They, we can talk more about it, but they all stood up for her much faster this time around.
I did like that, actually.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Since we're kind of going on that road, let's start with the shout outs and then we'll get into the differences. So the shout outs, like all the little homages that the live action film paid to not only the Chinese culture, but also, of course, the animated Mulan. Let's first start out with the shout outs to Mulan. Carlos, did you have any favorite shout outs specifically?
Yeah, I liked Ming-Na Wei at the very end when she introduces Mulan, because she was the voice actress for Mulan in the animated 98 version.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was looking going, oh, hey, I know her.
It sounded really familiar.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. It was the little things too. They used the same names of her comrades when they're. I love the idea of Cricket being an actual person rather than an actual little lucky cricket, and I was curious as to what were they going to do about the what do you call it, the matchmaker scene and using a spider. I thought that was great.
Yeah. We'll get into that.
Oh, sorry.
Spider.
All right, go on. All right.
Because that's kind of
I thought they were skipping the matchmaker scene after the chicken running scene. I thought they had like kind of replaced the one with the other, but the movie is longer than the original, so they kind of split up some of that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the chicken running scene's in the beginning too. She's just of the age of the Mulan that we know her as.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess we can kind of go off the spider actually. So I thought that the spider was like a really big difference just upon first watch, because I'm biased. I hate spiders. To me, spiders represent disgusting, scary, blah. But in Chinese culture, I'm gonna butcher this. It is called zimu, probably not how you pronounce it. And it means happy insect. So that's what they call spiders. So in ancient China and in modern folklore, spiders are believed to bring happiness in the morning and wealth in the evening. And so it was foreshadowing that her identity journey is going to be successful. And also, spiders, in addition to everything I just said, because of what I just said, are symbols of luck and auspicious paintings. So I thought that was a neat way to bring in the lucky insect.
Oh, that's cool.
Honoring the Chinese culture.
I feel like also it was a way to reinforce her manly qualities, because her sister is terrified of spiders.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so it's like she's kind of there to keep her sister from panicking, and she doesn't care. Right? Mulan don't care about no spiders.
Yeah. Mulan is cheese strong.
I did find the scene to be a little campy, and like the way they like upend the table. Campy. I know, but it's just for me it was a little heavy.
Yeah, it's not my taste either. But I mean, I accept the rules of Disney much easier than a lot of other stuff. Just like last episode we were talking about how I just couldn't get past the logical leap of like them carrying gold in that Spike Lee film.
I do wish they had talked about the matchmaker's importance before.
I thought that was kind of glossed over as well.
Yeah,
too.
like
her like lose it at the end, and I'm like, eh.
Yeah, again, that's what I mean. It's like that's kind of like a payoff with no setup again.
Yeah.
With the matchmaker, because especially when they announced that she's been engaged beforehand, that's why I thought they were going to skip the scene, and then they get to it, and I was like, oh wait, but she's already got an engagement, and they just didn't explain the rules to us. Like maybe she has to approve it, or whatever, but they didn't like tell us that. And I just felt like there was a lot of these kind of like, we'll just gloss past it moments.
And it's something that could have been easily,
right?
done
Like 2 seconds.
done in like less than 5 minutes.
Like a line. Yeah, with just like a quick line. I feel like there was some of that going on.
I mean, we still see the same themes of what was it, honor, family duty, and all of that. They kept talking about the 4 or the 3 virtues. So, I mean, that is the main theme of this movie is, honor, truth, family, and bravery or something else.
Yeah, and the lady's supposed to, reinforce tradition in the village and all that.
Mm-hmm.
That village is so tiny that I did think right away that, like, everyone's going to know that the dad is still there.
Right.
Like, everybody saw him be like, I have only daughters. And, like, they'd already know that because they're a tiny little village. And then Mulan's just gone, like, everyone in that town is going to know that Mulan ran.
Right. Like, she just, like, dips out and nobody notices. And she's like, oh, look, it's Mulan. She's back. Okay, where were you?
Yeah.
Where did you think she was?
Yeah.
You disgraceful woman.
Because they don't have, like, a separate property. They're just in that little circle thing.
Yeah,
right?
It looked like a big apartment building, almost.
Big complex.
They seemed high status within the village. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah.
Which
go on. Sorry.
Which I think was interesting because it was like, because I could be wrong. I don't know if they're high status. They seemed high status to me. So I found that interesting that the matchmaker like had it out for Mulan, even though to me they came across as a high status family.
Yeah.
It goes back to what John was saying. It's a small apartment complex, so to speak, and I'm sure everybody knows Mulan. She that one girl.
But I mean, how honorable is that to be so rude towards the high status family in your village? No,
know, right?
Does that mean that the matchmaker has a higher status?
Right?
Probably, but
Probably. I wish I knew more.
I just wish I'd heard them gossiping about it. I feel like they had this setting that was perfectly set up for like close gossip, being like, the matchmaker can't stand Mulan. She needs to be on her best behavior today. Kind of like,
right.
I don't mind a little telegraphing. I
think that would have been useful. I agree. My favorite shout out was probably the most memeable moment in the animated film is when Mushu goes, disgrace on you, disgrace on your cow. In the part where they're doing the basic training, the general, I'm so bad at military terminology. We're going to go with that.
Donnie Yen, right? Yeah.
I'm sorry?
It's Donnie Yen, right, who does that line?
Yeah. He does. He kind of pays homage to that, but in a more like non-funny way, And then there was lots of shout outs to Mushu, but not in the way that people wanted, of course. People wanted Mushu. That was a big term or source of pain when this movie was first announced that Mushu wasn't going to be in it. And
a lot of anguish.
It's replaced. And we'll get into what it's replaced with later, but I thought that the first glimpse of it kind of reminded me of Mushu, and then the way this thing slinks around like Mushu did, I think was like a neat little homage to it. And then, of course, the My Reflection song that they used throughout the movie, they used, like, there was one part that was just in flutes, and then as she finds herself, more instruments become added on to the song.
And there were a lot of lines from songs that just made it into lines in the movie, which I liked that. I appreciated that.
And did you notice that when she was getting dressed, they were using "Bring Honor to Us All" was also that was the background music for that one.
That was the flute one.
Yeah, it was not Reflection, but it was the song about going to meeting the matchmaker.
Yeah.
And as she's getting dressed, and I was like, hey, okay, so they did kind of bring some in, but.
Right. Okay, I think we successfully covered that part. Do you guys want to add anything more as far as the animated part, or is it okay if we move on to how this did shout outs to Chinese cinema?
Yeah, I'm okay moving on.
Yeah.
Okay. John, I want you to head this one.
Just because I've seen a few. I'm not like crazy well versed in Chinese cinema, but I've watched a number of Chinese films. Obviously having Donnie Yen and Jet Li are like some big gets, which I didn't recognize Jet Li. He sounds really strange in the film. He's got like this really deep, slow thing going on, which is very at odds with when I think of Jet Li. Like he didn't sound like him, so it was almost hard to recognize him. But there's nice nods with sort of that kind of A-list acting that we know. And then just like the way that the war scenes are kind of shot is very Chinese cinema. Yes. Even the like them, you know, like the wall running and all of that. Yeah. There's some things I wonder if they are sort of culturally ubiquitous in China that are used in this film that would explain some of what's going on. I feel like, especially considering like the Qi and the witch, because I did not understand the magic in this film really at all. Like, did you guys understand how it worked? Like, the Qi seemed to be one thing, and then there's like that sorceress, and I was just like, does she just have Qi?
She has control of her Qi, but then she's been scorned, and so she uses.
So can anyone be a shapeshifter? Like, how do you...
No, you have to be connected with your Qi. And so she was connected, but then she scorned because she was, you know.
But like Mulan didn't do anything crazy. Like she does like
Mulan had suppressed it.
Yeah.
So she didn't have control over it.
But she uses like man Qi. She uses it the same way the men do, right?
Well, in their culture, yes. But if you're asking me as a human being, that's a female, no.
I'm talking about within the rules of the film.
Yeah, within the rules of the film, yeah.
Like she does the same kinds of stuff that both the villain, Khan, and even like the Emperor with the arrow catch moment. Like they do those kind of like hyper things, like she's like Spider-Man kind of. But the magic, they don't really ever explain it to us. I felt very much.
Do they have to though? It's Disney. Yeah. We have to accept it, right?
And I'm just wondering if it is something that is like more culturally Chinese, that like there would be a detailed explanation for that we just don't
if anybody knows, please feel free to enlighten us in the comment section. I watch a lot of Chinese cinema, especially like 10 years ago. It's like all I watched. I feel like that was a big boom for Chinese cinema.
Was a big boom,
yeah. So to me, I thought it was a nice nod. It was definitely had a Disney stamp on it. You can't miss it. But I wasn't mad at the parallels. John. Woo, Carlos, do you watch a lot of Chinese cinema? Are you familiar with any?
When you say Chinese cinema, what are we talking about? Like the Crouching Tiger?
Yeah.
Hero.
Yes and no. I watched a lot of stuff in the 90s. I watched a lot of Chinese in the 90s where it was more romance and love, like Raise the Red Lantern, Eat, Drink, Man, Woman, those kind of, The Wedding Guest, those kind of more familial stories.
Yeah. And the big epics are kind of, they're post 2000s, right? Is really when China started getting on the like big epic train with like Red Cliff and Hero and
I've seen a couple of those, not a lot. My brother is more versed in that than I am. Like I said, I like kind of the more, give me the chick flicks, if you will. So that's kind of where I'm at least on that. And I did see some of that translated in not so much as a love story, but more as a family story, as trying to find out who one is and who you are.
Okay.
And I saw that with there trying to be some sort of love tension between her and Yusin An's character, who he is just so cute. But yeah, so that's kind of what I saw. But I could see, yes, definitely we're going to do some action flicks here. And I actually liked it. It was really neat. I mean, it set a different story. The reason I can see why there was no music. I can see why there's no Mushu. It's not a comedy.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
And I mean, Mulan was, the animated version was, I guess, as action packed as you can get for a Disney movie. It did better than Hercules, but they still stuck with their pop culture references, and I think that's what Disney does. As far as the animated goes, now what I've noticed with their more this whole live action trope that they're going on, I rewatched Cinderella just recently, which I thought was that remake was actually I thought that was pretty well done.
It was.
So was Beauty and the Beast for the most part. And so was Jungle Book, but I didn't care for Lion King because I think there was something about the voices that just I couldn't. It wasn't believable. So I was a little nervous about Mulan, but this was setting a whole completely different story.
Yeah.
It's taken an ancient myth, an ancient story. I mean, this thing is over a couple thousand years old. I mean, like I wrote in my little notes, it first appeared back in, the 386, between 386 and 531 BC CE. That this was old. So, but yeah, I can, as far as the Chinese cinema goes, I could see it. I liked it. 2 thumbs up.
I definitely liked it. One thing that kind of I found interesting was that the darkness on both the antagonists in both films were just, I think, like the darkest Disney's ever done.
Oh.
Personally, I don't know. Maybe I was just like in a mood, but I noticed that they like in the animated film.
This movie's got murder. This movie has
those
murder.
antagonists are dark. Like there's some dark shit. Like they don't show you, but they talk about the dark shit. Whereas this one, it was still as dark, but it was more like evoked through like the imagery than it was through the lines. But I felt the parallels between the two. Yeah. What do you guys think? Do you think there's darker villains? I don't think so.
I think Shere Khan in Jungle Book is real dark. Yeah, just the way that he bullies everyone around him, it's like there's something very like scary and visceral about it. I think so like in terms of like dark villains, I think Shere Khan is a good rival for this, but it's obviously trying to kind of go gritty.
I mean, you got Scar and Lion King. You also had the Butler and the Aristocats. I mean, talk about trying to murder a bunch of cats. I mean, it was bumbling, but it's still, or even actually child abuse in The Rescuers. You've got Madame Medusa, who I mean, like that's some. I'm going to call CPS on you, girl.
Yeah. Both Rescuers films have child kidnapping.
Yeah. Come on, Disney.
Disney, you're dark.
Yeah. What do we think of the new sorceress as a villain? Because she's
Hold on. Nope. That's a difference.
All right.
Before we get into the differences, I just kind of want to break this up real quick. We're going to just add in logical leaps. And then we're going to get into the differences because that's going to be the meat. Yeah. So my logical leap for both, to be honest with you, was the dad's injured. The dad reports to basic training. They just send the dad back, or they'd utilize him for something else.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't send him to war. So having to accept that every time, that's the only thing that kind of grinds me.
Ancient times, though, maybe they just want bodies on the ground. It's just like it doesn't matter. I'll be.
But I mean, I don't know shit about battle. But like, if you're putting someone like that onto battlefield, you're gonna create a weakness in your line.
But if you're just flooding numbers, you're just like throwing troops at them. And that is a little at odds with the kind of training that they show on display. But.
Yeah, exactly. So I found that hard to accept. Was there anything that you guys found hard to accept?
Yeah. And this is kind of an editing thing, but like when she decides to get to the avalanche, she like looks over at the avalanche and then she is just there. She's just there, and she's already got a bunch of helmets lined up on the rock, and like she's just super prepared. And I was just like, how did she get over there? She was literally on the other side of the Mongols 2 seconds ago, and then she's just like instantaneously arrives. So that was a big one for me, where I was just like
strong in that one. No.
Yeah.
What I didn't get was the
her horse's ability to ride in the avalanche also.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I also had a hard time with the, when she leaves her dad and she's heading off and she doesn't know where she's going. Like there was no map included with the conscription. Yeah. Like going, hey girl, you need to go like 4 miles down, hang a right.
Since you brought that up, I actually did have a thought in that little scene. Wouldn't they just all be going together from that village?
Right? There's like 4 or 5 other guys, that
every family.
Okay, exactly. And when she showed up to training camp, the 5 other guys every male from the family showed up and like
nobody from her village
happened to be there, and nobody recognized her. Going, that
is kind of a stretch.
What luck?
Right.
The only thing, my logical self did make an excuse. You know how they hand them the scrolls? I'm wondering if they're just like, the Chin family, you're going to be in the 5th regiment. This family, you're going to be in the 3rd regiment. That's the only thing that I could.
We'll go with that.
We'll go with that. That was my argument.
We'll go with that.
All right, let's get into the differences. Woo.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna start with history today because we have a historian with us. I don't know shit about Chinese history, so Carlos, take it away, honey.
Well, what do you want to know? I mean, so okay. Well, what notes I did take was in the animated version, that was set during the Qing dynasty. It was the Four Chinese dynasty, and that emperor was known for building the Great Wall,
which they used in that movie.
Yes, and he was also known for centralizing the government. He created a complex legal system, and he built a huge military up. So the animated film that actually kind of followed along those lines. Yes. Now the story itself pretty much follows the same pattern. Young girl takes up her father's arms to go to battle, and it was in the animated it was the Huns, but in this one it's the Rohan or the Rohan.
Yeah, the Khan. I mean, his name is like Boris
right.
Khan,
that
Khan.
actually does come from a war that actually happened in the original Ballad of Mulan. And it's the northern China, the Northern Wei dynasty is what they said it was. So pretty much historically pretty there.
So are these Mongolians in this movie? Or
yes,
not? They are, right?
Yes,
Because this is the name Khan, and we do see a lot of horses, so I just kind of assumed.
Yes, they were of a province of Mongolia. I
gotta say, some of them looked Arab.
Well, they were on the Silk Road, so think about that too.
Yeah.
So,
I was like, that looks like my people.
Can you tell me how old is the Silk Road? I know it's
I had that written down somewhere. I had to look that up as well too. It's pretty old.
Yeah, it's fucking old.
What I did notice.
It's official. It's
official. It's fucking old.
The dates back to about the 18th century. Oh no, sorry, from the 2nd century.
Okay,
that's what I found.
1800 years.
Yeah, second century.
Yeah, no, sorry, the 2nd century CE. So like around.
So where do you place this film? Where did you say it was?
This one?
Yeah.
This one is right around the. I think this was during the Tang Dynasty.
Yeah, that's what...
Start seeing the.
Is that later?
Start seeing the Forbidden City starting to be built. You know, the big in China. So that's what all of that was. I mean, a good majority of it was built, but where he gets kidnapped and taken to, that's like other parts of
all
it
new.
Built. Yeah, it's all new. So around Tang Dynasty about 600.
Okay.
To about 900 was that dynasty.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, it's some differences as far as the animated and the live action. So
okay. Of course, I would say this one is probably more historically accurate-ish in comparison to the animated.
I think they both were.
Yeah. Okay.
Depending on the period that you're going from.
Okay.
You know, Yeah, I think they were both. The period picked were pretty much accurate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
I mean, granted, the '90s animated had their microaggressive Asian stereotypes and pop culture references, but
Yes, of course. Of course. Real quick, you were talking about the Silk Road. I looked it up. So, like you said, 2nd century, and it was used until the closing in 1453 AD, when the Ottoman Empire boycotted trade with China and shut it down. Protesting works, bitches.
Yeah, tariffs. Just old school tariff, right there.
Right.
All right.
Trade embargo. We're not letting. No.
We're not buying anything from China.
China. I guess we got to do that, right? Okay.
Yeah. They've always been big and scary. China's a huge place. It's got a lot of people, a lot of power.
I want to travel the countryside there so bad, though. I really don't care if we're going into the big cities, but I want to do the countryside.
You don't want to experience the police state?
No.
And the smog?
No. In the radioactive.
I'm down with it.
Yeah. No, the Chinese countryside is just, there's some gorgeous, gorgeous land there. Like,
it's gorgeous. Yeah. Gorgeous. Okay, let's talk about the music. We kind of did earlier.
Yeah, we did a little bit. I liked the homages. Overall, the score was good. Not it never really like stood out in a bad way to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I can definitely give it that. Like, for
Yeah.
the most part, it fit, and then, yeah, like during some of the scenes, it's like, oh, here's where they should be singing, but
Yeah, but they didn't. So that was the starkest difference was that this is not a musical. You know, which a lot of people were sad about again.
Yeah.
Because I will admit it's hard to give that up with Disney. Like, I love me a good Disney animated musical. I'm all about that life.
honestly, the sets looked primed and ready to go for musical staging too.
They did.
Like, it looks like this could have easily been made a musical without really compromising what it looks like or how it feels.
I'm glad they didn't go that route though.
Exactly, because I can see after watching it, I'm like halfway through it, I was like going, yeah, I know this doesn't work as a musical. Just the way the storyline, the way that they were going, the way it was filmed and everything. I'm like going, nah, this is once again one of your, one of the, big glossy, action movies is what this was, and it's fine. I'm okay with that.
Is this PG-13?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're never going to get a rated R. We had a comment on one of our posts about this that somebody wishes Disney would just go rated R. It's not going to happen, honey.
It's never going to happen.
This is their brand. Accept it.
But there's killing in this film though. Like, I counted like 6 confirmed murders by Mulan.
But you don't see any blood.
Zero blood. Most of the time she just like kicks them down or like slaps them aside. But yeah, there was like
just goes straight in. Yeah.
Yeah, there was like 6 times where I was like, "Oh, Mulan murdered somebody." Like,
Mulan murdered somebody.
Killed him.
You guys, no, I don't. But off the top of your head, what songs were replaced? Anyone?
Replaced?
Yeah. Like, did they replace any music? Add new music?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna.
I kept playing the game of like, which scene represents that song.
Yeah, I did.
Like you've got them at the dinner They put it earlier in the film, but when they're training at the table, they're like talking about the girls.
Yes,
that's like clearly the Road song.
Yes, that was yeah. I caught that too. The Road song. I could see where what was it? Let's get down to business. Yeah. That was. Yeah.
Careful, YouTube will strike us.
That's true.
Oh yeah. Shh.
No,
we didn't mean it, YouTube.
We didn't mean it.
I don't own that rights to any of that music. Yeah. I have drag queen friends.
I know. Just because we got a strike for no reason, so I don't want to give them an actual reason. Susan of YouTube.
So yeah, no, I think it was. I thought they did it. I thought it was a well done movie. As far as if you're not going to do that, I like that the Phoenix was replaced with Mushu was replaced with the Phoenix. Yep. I mean, if you're going to have that one mythical character, that made sense. I mean, it would have been fun.
What did you guys think of the Phoenix itself and like the way they portrayed it?
I think it paid, like I was saying earlier, it paid homage to Mushu. It was slinky and, Yeah,
I mean, it was kind of weird. Like, clearly she was the only one who could see it. By the end, I think I was clear that she was the only one who could see it. I kept getting thrown out every time I saw that bird because it just stood out like a sore thumb to me amidst like the set. Like, everything else is so real and tactile.
Right. But, you see the father saying, calling out to the ancestors, gods,
Yeah.
Look over, it's the Phoenix,
And it's a nice symbol,
Yeah. I wasn't mad at it. We all know what a phoenix means. It was perfect. It was a perfect allegory or metaphor? Metaphor this time? Yeah, I get them confused sometimes.
Metagory.
It's a metagory. For her identity journey. That was nice. So since we just talked about a beloved character that is missing, let's talk about some that we have been added. I'm all about the evil woman.
You're all about her? I don't know how I felt about it. I was mixed. I was kind of like...
I think to me, I could have expanded a little bit more on her. Yeah. I felt like even though she was pretty much throughout the whole movie, it still was like an ancillary character that really was just used to kind of explain the chi away. Yeah, or explain the existence of the chi.
Yeah, I felt like she was Yeah, like you said, underused, underexplained. I wanted her like pushback against the Khan to turn into a little something more. Like the way they did it where she kind of just sacrifices herself at the end was I felt a little unearned. So I liked where they were, like I kind of liked what she was attempting to be, but I didn't really like how they pulled it off, I would say. And I liked that actress. She was cool. I mean,
yeah, the actress was great.
Yeah.
They could have given her character more attention, I do think. And of course, it pissed me off that she was like under the rule of this man and like had to do this with the help of these men. And it was like she was secretly helping. I
thought she was going to propose to overthrow the Khan, and I was going to be like, "Yeah, Mulan, you should join her and overthrow the Khan.
Go to the dark side."
Yeah, like I almost thought it was going to go in a direction where I was going to be like, "Do it, Mulan," but then it never quite got there. No. But like she was just kind of like join the Khan, which was stupid.
We all knew from the minute that woman came on screen she was going to have a character arc. I wanted a bigger one. I was all about her. And side note, her costume was amazing. I think I want to dress up as her one year. But like, yeah, I wanted more out of her arc itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. It just felt a little thin.
Yeah. But I'm glad that they brought it, you know, they brought her.
I liked the commander's replacement as love interest being another one of the soldiers. I liked that replacement character. And I kind of had fun with that relationship. Overall, I mean, he wasn't my favorite, but I liked that equivalent and that the commander was like something else. That we didn't have this sort of blurred lines of authority happening in this iteration.
I liked within that the difference in the animated one is like, yeah, they have that love interest, and at the end, although I really liked Disney's choice not to have Mulan get married in the animated version, they still were like, yeah, I'm gonna come over for dinner. Let's try that out. You know what I mean? And where this one, she was like, peace, bro.
Like, this one, yeah, I like that they ended with the offer in her lap to join.
Yeah. And then the sister was the one that got married, right? Because she was the more like
someone's got to get married.
Because
someone's got to get married.
Right? She found someone who wasn't afraid of spiders, right?
Yeah. Good on her.
Yeah,
good on her.
Were there any different characters that you liked, Carlos?
I really liked I liked how they like going back to the cricket, you know, how it wasn't an animal and actually was a real person and, you know, managed to survive all of this stuff and like, oh, you are lucky, you know,
What did you think of the fake out then at the tail end there where they were like, is cricket dead?
Oh yeah, I was like going, oh, is he? No.
They don't hang on it very long though. They give you like a half a second to be like, cricket's dead.
Oh, no,
and then he died.
Disney's never gonna make you sit in it that long. Like even animated, whenever you start crying, immediately after there's a comedic relief, either with Mushu or the grandma, right? Someone else we were missing, right? We didn't have the grandma in this because we didn't need the comedic relief.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Yeah, I did miss the grandma. I totally forgot about her.
They replaced her with the sister instead.
Yeah.
Which I like that she had a sister.
Yeah, that was nice. I think that was more true to like the time too. You know, no one's gonna have a single kid in this time and age, right? Like, much less likely.
Less likely,
that you're
for sure.
A single child.
Also, the character of I think it was the Emperor's assistant. You know, the little one from the animated one. Kind of, he went to go observe the army. How he wasn't really.
Yeah, nothing.
You only saw him at the beginning and at the end of the movie, and he had a couple of things to talk about, and you know, the dire warning. You know, they're coming for us.
Yeah, he was not like the other antagonist in this film, like he was.
I didn't miss him.
Me neither. Good choice. Good on you, Disney. Good on you.
Yeah, not missing that guy. I thought that they were fine in like dealing with it themselves. You know, their honor was strong enough or whatever. How did you guys like the reveal and all that? Because it plays out a little different, right?
I had an emotional reaction throughout the second reveal in the live action. So at first I was like, okay, first of all, I have to just kind of, I'm a lover of geography, so let's talk about how the reveal happened in that like frozen sulfur lake salt flat thing.
That was crazy. Whatever.
That was kind of neat looking. What I found interesting about that was that actually like the Danakil Depression in Ethiopia, which is like the lowest land point on Earth, looks like that. So I thought like that is the Danakil Depression, I think. So I thought that was interesting that was like in China when actually it's in Ethiopia. So I just kind of had
my little. But this was shot in New Zealand.
But it was shot in New Zealand. Well, obviously that was shot on a green screen. But you know what I mean?
Or like just on a studio set, yeah.
Yeah, but I just thought it was an interesting background choice. As someone who likes geography and knows about that.
Nothing like that in China, I wonder.
Probably. China's huge. But like nothing that I know of off the top of my head. But overall, I thought initially it was really anticlimactic. Because, like, in the animated one, you know, like, she gets wounded, and then she sees a doctor, and then the doctor's like, she's got titties. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a big buildup, where this, like, she gets stabbed, she doesn't even bleed, and now that dude's dead, and now Mulan has... It's, like, in 2 minutes, right? Like, it's so fast. Whereas in the animated one, it's, like, drawn out, and it's way more... Like, it's a bigger deal. But upon finishing watching... I realized that they did it because hold on, where are my notes? She fought and then was revealed, right? Whereas this one, it's the other way around. So obviously Disney wanted her to fight as herself.
Which good on them. Yeah,
good on them. Which I was like, okay, fine. Like,
which I don't know that like they needed to do it because they still have a big climactic battle at the palace. So she could have still fought as Mulan there, right?
But I don't think they wanted her to do it at all. She needed to be true.
Right. Yeah. She needed to be true, and they needed that glorious hair on the battlefield.
Sure. Good hair, by the way. And I love her little armor skirt. I'm going to say it again. I love it so much.
I made a joke to Brianna near the end of the movie that I was like, she's going to be starting a whole new hair fashion trend after this, like that volume.
Yeah, good volume.
They're all like pinning it up and stuff. And here Mulan is just like, I'm gorgeous.
Girl, what products you using? Okay, here, let's talk about that difference. When she takes off her makeup in the animated version and like, what is on your sleeve, Mulan? You take off what is on your sleeve, and then in this version, the volume in her hair. I need all of this bitch's beauty products. Yeah. Where are they?
It comes out, just glorious. I will say I liked a scene that got to me in a good way was when she comes back to tell them about the plan that she learned from the sorceress, and like when they all start kind of going, I believe in Mulan. I was like, thanks guys, like. Good for not like. I'm just glad they didn't string us along for more of the like sexist hatred.
Yeah, like, they totally did in the animated one.
Yeah, they dragged it out way more.
Yeah, I was watching it with my friend Michael, and he hadn't seen the animated version in like since it came out basically, and he was like, whoa, like this stuff wouldn't fly today, like every time they would say something, and it was a lot. And then in the live action it was way toned down and they jumped on her side a lot quicker. What about you, Carlos?
I'm the same way. I was looking at watching the 98 version, and there's some very microaggression, misogynist, super misogynistic, but I think they were trying to say something about Asian society back then, and even today, even in the 90s, late 90s, there's that microaggression against Asian stereotypes as far as little things, but then definitely the misogyny,
Yeah.
And it's tricky when you want to tell a story about sexism.
Right.
It's kind of like you have to be careful in the way that you portray it,
Yeah.
It's just it's a wire walk, it's a tightrope walk.
Yeah. Especially when Disney, mostly children watch it.
Right. And then that's the difference between the two different movies is any of the Disney animation are going to be geared towards 6 to 12. And, even I went and saw Mulan when it first came out in the movie theaters. I'm one of those. I've always gone to see any Disney animated movie in the theater, as a grown-ass adult, I was like, let's go. I remember bringing my friend Greg with me, and he's like, really? We're going to go see a Disney movie? And I'm like, yeah, you'll like it. It's about war. You're in the Marines. And he's like, he actually did like it. He's like, actually, that wasn't that bad. So this is before he had kids too. So, but yeah, no, the animated is going to be more geared towards a specific audience. These remakes, I've noticed, are geared for, a little bit older and adults. But even in animated, Disney does have a lot of jokes that, go over kids' heads.
Yeah, that are for the parents. And right. Mulan is riddled with those. Like, she took her drag tour on the road.
The indescribable Mushu, the pleasurable, the Eddie Murphy brought, I was watching it yesterday and I was laughing my ass off because there's some great lines in that,
There is. Or where she's in the pool and he's like, there's a couple of things they're bound to notice.
This, right? Yeah.
Like, there's some good ones. Like, I love Disney for that. And I know they catch a lot of flack for that. And sometimes maybe it's a little inappropriate.
I want you to go out there and, kick the other kids' butts, but I don't want to kick the other kids' butts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, each movie, I think they both stand alone and hold their own.
Yeah, for sure. I agree 100%. I think they're both. I mean, obviously watch the animated one. If you've been living under a rock or maybe you're like 12 years old and haven't seen it yet, go watch it. But I think
it is one of the sort of underseen Disney films. I feel like a lot of people don't recognize songs from it and stuff. And I'm like, I think it's one of the better.
It is. I think it's because it's in that weird transition period. Like Hercules, it's the same. Yeah. It was like when
it's
like
not
Disney
quite golden age, or is it the last of the golden age?
It's in that transition period where Disney's like, all right, let's like empower females, but they still didn't know quite what they were doing at that time. Plus, you add that to the fact that technology is rapidly changing at this point as well. So it's like going from 2D animation to like what we see nowadays with Frozen and Pixar and stuff like that. It's like right on that cusp. Yeah. So I think that's why a lot of those movies kind of take a back seat.
And they in '98 they didn't get the big promotional push. It did do better though than. Bug's Life did better that year, but Mulan did much better as far as the other family movies that were out. It did slightly better than Hercules, because these were all coming, one right after the other. I think Hercules had too much 90s pop culture references that they weren't. It probably wasn't going to.
It was almost like Shrek, like Hercules.
I mean, only certain age groups are going to get that. That's Gen Xers.
And millennials.
Oh yeah, that's right. No, you're that sub.
We're in that early millennial.
Yeah, we're both.
Yeah. Late Gen Xers, but it did do well, and it was because of McDonald's doing their push for the Happy Meals toys and that Szechuan sauce.
Yeah, which is still a cult classic, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
Which has been revived by Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty.
I also don't remember much in the way of Disneyland doing a lot for Hercules and the parks. Like they had some stuff.
They had a parade,
like way bigger. Like you could meet Mulan, and it was like a big thing. Yeah.
They actually, when a new movie comes out, they always try to. Incorporate them into a parade, or if not, have their own parade. I noticed that I remember that with Hercules and with Mulan, they were given their own float, or it was their own special, thing.
Didn't Mulan have their own parade?
Yes, I believe she.
Yeah. Where Hercules, it was like in another parade. It was just like tacked onto the parade. Yeah, yeah. So like Mulan, they were a little bit more. Into the marketing, which I think makes sense. It was the first non-white, basically. I mean, I guess you can count Aladdin too, but it was like a bigger, we're not doing white people type of movie, right? Where like they kind of tried to do that in Hercules. They had the muses, which were black.
Yeah, the first black characters.
Yeah, the first black animated people ever. Your stepsister, my cousin Adrienne, was like a huge fan of the muses, probably still is.
Yeah.
And I think they're the best part of Hercules. But yeah, like I was saying, it was just in this interesting transition period with Disney that they were trying to do the right thing, but I don't think they knew what the fuck they were doing. but good on them for trying. Hell yeah. I mean, just like John and I don't know what we're doing, and here we are.
Well, because that was coming towards the end of the Eisner years. The Disney decade was coming towards an end. I mean, Euro Disney, I think it had already slightly been rebranded as Disneyland Paris, was just lost tons of money. If you haven't had a chance, watch the Imagineering story on Disney Plus. It is fascinating. So cool.
Okay.
And it talks about Eisner and with the movies, because there was no direction for the animation studio, because everybody was focused on the parks, and then there was focused on this. And so, and then Pixar was really, stepping up to the plate.
And competition at the time.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. This has been a great talk. Did we miss anything?
We didn't really talk about acting in general.
I don't know. I don't think there was anything really stand out. I think the actress that played Mulan, she did a great job. Good job.
I think the father did good. I liked him.
All the characters that needed to be good were good.
I do want to say that I think Donnie Yen got he got a little bit shafted in this film. Like his he's in a few scenes acting wise, and he's okay. His character doesn't have much to it, like depth wise. And then the choreography, he just gets ripped off. I felt like he is one of both Jet Li and Donnie Yen are two of the best martial artists on film, like bar none. And I felt like he did dirty a little bit because he gets just lost in the jumble of the battle and at the Imperial Palace. Like he just doesn't get showcased well. Whereas like Milan's got some cool choreography, although I'm not crazy about the weird camera follows.
Yeah.
I did like some of her choreography, but I felt like a lot of the other peripheral choreography just kind of gets done dirty. It's just like really
I don't
underbaked.
expect that brilliance. I don't expect Oscar-worthy nominations.
I just expect if you are going to hire like one of the best martial artists on film ever, who recently did Ip Man 4, like Donnie Yen's still at the, I don't know if he's at the top of his game, but he's still pretty close to it. Like, I feel like if you've got that, like, utilize it.
Yeah.
That was kind of my feeling towards that. It's just something I wanted to get off my chest that I felt like they should have done. They should have done them better.
Carlos, do you want to get anything off your chest?
Yes, I still think the original animated version, I think Reflection needed 2 more verses, a bridge, and a chorus, okay? That song was too short, Just along with like Meg's song in Hercules, that was too short, too.
It's true. Every time I listen to the Hercules soundtrack, I'm like, it's so short. Anyway.
But no, actually, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a unique, fresh approach. I think Disney's doing, are they running out of ideas, and that's why they're revisiting, making live action movies out of something that exists, or are they trying something different now that they have new technology? I think it's a 50-50.
I think it's both too. Yeah.
But when
you're going to spend $300 million, you generally want a safe bet that you're going to get your return back. So
yeah,
exactly. If you're going to spend that kind of money, but I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing some of their other stuff coming out. Soul looks interesting. Rana, which we don't really know much about other than it takes place in a Southeast Asian country.
Is it about Rona, the coronavirus?
No, Rana.
I haven't heard of it. I'm sorry. Soul looks interesting.
Yeah, but they also, once again, that's something that we should probably talk about too, is how they, it is featuring an African American predominant character, but is a majority not an African American. Plays a little blob, a blue blob through the whole movie, kind of like how Tiana.
There's a fair amount of him in the trailer. The one trailer I
think they recut the trailer.
Well, if they did, they added a fair amount of him as a person. As a person. Yeah. So if they have kind of like gone back and tweaked it, I don't know if that's the case, but
hey, they got plenty of time. It ain't being released anytime soon. So.
But it's true. That would be like to follow up Princess and the Frog, and then like. It wasn't Disney, but like Spies in Disguise did that, right? Where they had Will Smith and they made him a pigeon.
Oh yeah. So, but no. I think with Disney and with what they're what they're going to be coming out with soon. I think it'll be interesting to see where they're going with unique and different ideas. So,
I'm looking forward to the live action adaptation of Hercules. I'm not gonna lie, I do want them to keep the musical aspect, but that's just because that's my favorite part of the movie. I would not be angry if they don't.
I think they would. I think they should. Are they keeping the music? I think they're keeping the music, or do we not know?
We don't know yet. We don't.
Okay.
But we do know that they're doing a Broadway adaptation of Hercules.
Which that's long overdue. I mean, I can't believe Tarzan made it to Broadway versus Hercules. Hercules is completely set up for.
Completely.
Yeah, but Phil Collins, pushed that Broadway.
Oh yeah, and he probably shelled out his own money, which in the world of Broadway, never put up your own money.
That's in filmmaking too. Same,
right?
Same
never use your own money.
That's anything. Do not use your own money.
I don't know what Phil Collins did to get that contract where he was like, I'm going to write all the songs and sing all the songs.
And not be Elton John. All right, so I guess we're done. Yeah.
Yeah. This is great.
Okay.
Yeah, we're at time anyway. We're overtime, really.
John, talk us off.
So next week's film, which I think we announce, or did we announce?
Yeah, we announced it, but just to reiterate, Portrait of a Lady on Fire with Nova.
Portrait of a Lady on Fire. So, we'll see how that goes. Where is it available? I'm so sorry, I forgot where it was. Streaming.
Shoot, I think Hulu.
Yeah, we'll post it on the Instagram.
Yeah.
And on the Facebook where it's streaming. So join us for that. This was a fun bonus episode for all you guys. Thank you, Carlos, for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you to both of you. Yeah.
And really, this was Rochelle's episode. Let us know what you think. Did she do a better job than me? Probably.
Did you? No. Well, also, did you guys like this versus thing? Like, should we keep maybe doing this type of setup here and there for when the opportunity beckons? Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Give us some feedback, even if you watch this late. Please give the video a like if you're on YouTube and a subscribe. And if you are on the iTunes or Spotify listening podcast, maybe consider leaving us a review. If you like us, give us a good review. That will help us out a lot.
Yeah. Carlos, do you want the people to find you on the medias of social?
No. I'm good.
But I thought I'd ask.
I'm square.
We have the profile of guests that just is like, I don't want to be found.
Leave me alone.
I want to be alone.
Mystery. You can find me at John in Paradox on Instagram. It's the best place. Or follow the show, Views in Paradox, on Instagram, or find us on Facebook as well.
Yeah. And then you can find me on Instagram and Twitter. I'll link you below because I'm sick of spelling it for you. Yeah.
Cool. And is that it? All right.
That's it.
Yes.
Until next time, watch more movies, everybody.
Happy viewing, guys. Thank you.
Catch you on the flip side.
That was a